You're listening to Mr. Allard's Neighborhood. Small town feel with big time ideas. After all, you are entitled to Brad's opinion. Here's your host, Brad Allard.
Yeah. Well, we got two of the big Burleson heavy hitters here. The Mayor, Chris Fletcher, and Councilwoman Victoria Johnson are going to talk about the bond issue primarily. We're also going to talk about the liquor store election, and then I may get off on a rant about tomorrow's election, but just want everybody to know the opinions of the host, not necessarily of the guests, because I probably have a feeling Victoria will duck out if I start bringing it up. Is that true?
Maybe.
Yeah,
I'm under this table.
Yeah, well, both. I was telling both of them beforehand. This is a very tough election.
It is a tough election.
It was because I don't know hardly anybody that's like,
woohoo!
Yeah, excited. I know a couple of people that are really very much Trump, and I know a couple of people, that are very much Harris, but most of them are like, whatever, and that's not good. And that's, but that's the way it is. We'll save that for later. But we're all going to talk about the bond election because that's very important. And I think some of the information about the bonds has been
skewed.
Yeah, that's it. I'm trying to be nice, but they think it's about building somebody else's roads, and that's not really what it's about at all. It's going to benefit Burleson greatly, particularly if you have a problem with the traffic on 174. I was out and about Friday, and the line going east on 174 at that John Jones intersection was past the other light. The other light that's down, I think, Hewlin, is that it? But it was past the other light. That's how far back it went, both lanes. And this is a Friday, and it was like, mid-afternoon. So we're not talking about, rush hour traffic. So something has to be done. Anyway, is your mic on?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Good. You're just not usually this quiet. Usually, like.
I haven't had an opportunity to chime in. I will.
He started talking about the election. I don't think she was scared to say anything.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, anyway, let's talk about the sponsors real quick, and also remind you about the big voting contest. Also, thank you, Otto, at our place. I'll be seeing you Thursday morning, my bi-weekly breakfast with the Sunday school men. And I don't know what kind of mood we'll be in, but we'll see. Sometimes we don't feel like talking about national events. We talk a lot about college football. The Cowboys aren't worth talking about, certainly.
Boy, you got that right.
That was not the best game I've seen them play. But anyway, I want to remind you over at Gina's, Otto's other place, we have the election contest. So far, about 60 entries.
Nice.
Yes. I would put you two down because I know you voted, but then people would say, that'd be kind of suspicious, And same with Taylor, because I know Taylor's voted, right?
Voted for what?
Okay, get away from me. Anyway, Gina's Pizza. Get in the drawing. Get a $50 gift card from Gina's. That's really good stuff. I don't know if they're going to have the elections on tomorrow night. I doubt it. Otto tries to avoid that in his places. We don't, he'll have the sports on or something, but he tries to avoid all that stuff. He wants to create a kind of a neutral zone. But anyway, so thank you, Otto, for all you're doing. Thank you also to Wild Cigar and Culture. They have the sports on. They have the game tonight. They have the college football games on. It's a good place. Go get yourself a, cigar. You go there and you see the city council after the meetings, knocking them back. It's great. Sometimes I'm sure it even crosses the mayor's mind, as much as he abstains. There's probably been a couple of times he's thinking up there, I could use a shot about now. Is that about right?
Our old council,
You
for
aren't
sure.
supposed to tell anybody.
Yeah. No, that
There's times when the council could probably empty a bottle.
That's right. Have an open bar in the council room.
Now it's so calm. I had a friend tell me recently, thank you for making government boring again.
I said that.
Thank you. You're welcome.
I said that. Was it me or somebody else?
I've heard it from another too.
Okay. Well, that's what we want is boring government. Talk about roads and trash pickup and, that kind of controversial stuff. But anyway, they also, Chris and Nathan do a lot of really good things for the community. So go by, patronize their business. And we'll be talking how this election on the liquor stores can positively affect them.
Absolutely.
All right. Also, thank you to Gala over at Southern Gym. Boy, it's getting busy. Robin told me that the Christmas shopping is already picking up, and on the December 5th, from 5 o'clock to 8, December 5th, 5 through 8, they're having like a little Christmas type party. A jazz trio. They're going to have sales and they're going to have hors d'oeuvres from American Revelry, things of that nature. It's always going to be a lot of fun. Oh yeah, it's going to be a lot
I
of
love
fun.
how creative that complex is being and partnering together for events and cross promotion.
There's several new businesses. I noticed where the Donut Boy was. Was it Doughboy Donuts? That's what it's called.
There's something, or a sandwich shop.
Yeah, it was going to be kind of a sandwich and deli kind of thing. So that'd be good.
Where's it going to be?
Right where the Doughboy Donuts used to be.
Doughboy
Oh, really?
was.
They're going back into the same place?
It's the same place.
Okay.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty good. But anyway, Southern Gym, got lots going on. Christmas season. I'm sure you want to take Philip there, right?
Point out all the things.
Yeah, right. And Mrs. Fletcher probably go in and discreetly point out the things as well. Is she like that? Is she, a jewelry shopper? He's saying nothing. Look at him.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yes.
Well, my wife loves jewelry. I mean,
Well, then she's working in the right location.
that's exactly right. I mean, she loves it. And so, yeah, well, and then she says, I want this, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, hey, we're trying to make money here, right? But anyway, Southern Gym, you know where it's at? Go by. Also, thank you to our friends over at Old Pro Roofing. When it was raining this weekend, I had no fears because John told me my roof was good to go at 817-734-2756. And supposedly we're going to have weather tomorrow as well as today. I don't know. Did you not get that warning? I didn't get it. But apparently there's some weather somewhere in this county, tornado watch. So, which means tune in later to news and that kind of thing. I always think that the weather forecasters in the grocery stores have some sort of conspiracy. So they say, a new ice age is coming, and everybody flocks to the stores and clears out the shelves. Oh, it dissipated in Jacksboro. Have you ever noticed that? Or
And then you can't find toilet paper or bread.
Well, it was supposed to be heavy rain this weekend, and we got some, but it's like
It was supposed to be heavy rain.
there's a lot of
I
drama.
put all my plants out, and I think it drizzled.
Yeah. But there you go. Anyway, back to Old Pro Roofing. They can take care of your business for you. Oops, just dropped the cap. There it is. Also, Jeff Kelly Realtors. He was on the show about 2 weeks ago. And if you want to know what's going on in Burleson real estate, it's been to talk to. Call him at 817-781-0546 or Jeff at jeffkellyrealty.com. It's, it's my advice and his too, that if you want the home, get the home. You can always refinance, but you're not going to get a price go down, or it's not like they're going to give you a rebate if you buy the house and say, well, it's now cheaper. Well, that's tough. You bought it at this price, but you can always refinance, and there's plenty of people that can do it. My friends at Camco could do it for you, but 817-781-0546. And have y'all gotten your local life yet? I keep telling, Tiffany Griffin, put it in post office boxes, but she hasn't yet. But it should be out this week.
I bet it comes this week. I haven't received November's yet.
Yeah, well, I don't know what the cover's going to be, but she also has. I know she's working on a nonprofit issue. I think for next month.
Fun.
Yeah, and so anyway, we text every now and then, see what's going on with her business, and the local life is still they're just every month kind of gradually increasing their circulation. So. And I see them in stores, when I was getting my oil change about a month ago, there it was on the coffee table. So they're, that kind of thing. Anything else? Do we have any nonprofit stuff going on? I believe some of those things have already gone by.
Let's talk about
The
Jennifer.
7th.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right, the 7th. I was thinking, I know there was something about I couldn't think of it.
Yeah, this
she was
Thursday.
she was going to be on the show last Monday, when she got sick.
Yeah.
And so we're going to try to get her on, even if she's going to be retired on Thursday.
Yeah,
It's tough, isn't it?
she really. Sherry Seacrest became the face of the chamber. Mm-hmm. Well, Jennifer became the face of Harvest House. She has just really knocked it out of the park.
I agree.
Yeah.
She has been a tremendous
grown
asset to
it,
that
done a
organization
great
and to this
job.
community.
I've talked to her and Debbie Beeman at Process. In fact, I saw Debbie this morning, and I think sometimes we don't appreciate the stresses they go through because, I've walked in the Process day and they look pretty decent shape. And I've walked in there before and half or more of the shelves are plumb empty. And, and it stresses them when people come in wanting food and they don't have very much to give them. So it's just an ongoing thing. And, I see that commercial for Ms. Harris, Bidenomics is working. And I yell, not here, it isn't. But I don't know if it is or not. But I do know the nonprofits,
They're struggling.
It's a more stressful job than I would want. and they are struggling, in so many different ways, but so are a lot of people.
But to commend her for actually being a face and being out in the community, I feel like this is in the last 7 years, we've felt and seen Harvest House have more of a presence than it used to. It was kind of like, oh, go to the Harvest House. And so few knew about it, how to get access to it. And I feel like it's everywhere, and she's done a phenomenal job.
The retail store is really boosted up. And the thing about it is the retail store is something, it's cost effective. And when there's a downturn in the economy, where does people go? They go where it's cost effective. So they're not dependent as much as they were on donations. And that was really important to me when I was on the board.
That's good.
And
Alex,
she just took the ball and ran with it.
Yeah. You're not on the board still? Or is it just it rotate off and
that
on?
was years ago.
Oh, okay.
Years ago.
Well, Alex Phillips says good morning, and he's going to tell us all the secrets and give us his opinions on all the politics. Well, probably
Alex
not.
has a lot of things to brag about.
He does, and
He just walked away with some good awards. And,
did he?
Yeah.
Come on, Alex. Thump your chest a little bit. You could tell us all about it.
They did phenomenal.
Tarzan yell.
Yeah. I don't want to see him in a loincloth, though. But anyway.
I'd really prefer not to see anyone in a loincloth.
Yeah. Let's talk about the bond before it gets too silly, because last time, I forget one show we just started. I was with Melissa Miller, and we just, at the chain, we just got silly at the end because, so we've got to
She's
prevent
so
that.
fun, and she's doing a phenomenal job with the chamber.
It's this bond issue. What I have seen, most people I have talked to personally, I had one say no, but the rest have said yes. I'm talking about like around a dozen people. Alex Phillips' Project U is sold out less than 30 days. All 400 seats gone. Good heavens.
That's phenomenal, Alex.
That's pretty
what
good.
they won an award. One of the awards that
Taylor, you have something a little more upbeat than that. Well, that's a major thing.
Yes,
God,
that's major.
Yeah.
You weren't listening, were you?
I mean, essentially, his
Go for
team.
the dramatic one.
You got to wait. Taylor, he's going to have his moment. Anyway.
Alex's team, they were traveling all over the country and going to really neat and impactful conventions and conferences and listening to people speak. And they thought, why can't we do that here? And they bring in tremendous speakers. I don't think that they've had one speaker that I wasn't blown away by. And you walk away with goodies. You have a phenomenal lunch, but the impact that those speakers bring to our community, it's really cool.
Well, I know it in my B&I meeting, Jeremy Bleeker, whom you all may know.
Yes.
Yeah, he was promoting this really hard because he went last year and just raved about it. And he said, you want to do this quickly. I don't know how many of my B&I friends did it, but he was pushing it pretty hard, saying it was one of the best events he's ever been to.
Well, it's really neat. A lot of corporations in our area buy up tables, and they bring in people that from their other offices and other locations, and that says something about Burleson, that we put that amount of effort that they do into bringing quality speakers, topics that people want to hear about, that are encouraging. You walk away wanting to do something, and that's a cool thing.
Yeah. Well, anyway, back to the bond.
The bond.
The bond, yes. Now, I haven't seen a whole lot of organized opposition, but I have seen a couple of postings on social media that I think misrepresented somewhat what this bond's about.
I agree.
And when I told my one buddy who voted against it what it was really about, he said he kind of wished he had another chance to vote for it.
I say I had that.
Yeah.
I had a worker at Lowe's come up and start asking me questions, and he explained, and she said, "I'm sorry, Mayor, I voted against it." I said, "That's okay. That's fine.
But they
That's on us. We didn't get the word out there quick enough."
well, we tried here, but it's hard because we don't have like a daily newspaper or
Exactly
a daily
right.
radio station.
And then we have to hope that the newspapers we do have, the Cleveland Times Review or whatever it may be, actually pick it up. And you can offer them information. It doesn't mean that they run it.
Yeah, but a lot of people, they voted for it because I think they understood that the roads in this area need work. But I think they misunderstood it somewhat. They thought, well, if you vote for this money, they're going to repair this particular road. And what I try to tell them is, no, what you're doing is you're laying the groundwork and the engineering and the prep work to make us eligible for TxDOT money, and to alleviate some of the stress.
Well,
And by the way, I'm so sorry, Mayor.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say the TxDOT dollars that we are trying to leverage to bring locally and those federal dollars that we're trying to bring are still our tax dollars. We're sending them down to Austin. We're sending them to D.C. And we want to compete to bring those dollars back here. Because if we don't, TxDOT will send them other places in this state. Nationally, they're going to go to other states if we don't raise our hand and say, look, we've got a little bit of skin in the game. We have done the engineering, or we have advanced the right of way. We now brought some attention to this particular project to alleviate some traffic off of some of these other roadways. Can we match those dollars and make our $2 million investment gain $24 million in matching dollars that, by the way, are still our tax dollars?
That's right. Victoria's absolutely right. The thing that gets me is on the ballot, it says bond. There's no explanation. And so that word bond gets thrown in with all the other bonds, and particularly the ISD.
Yeah.
And I just don't think, and I worry that people just don't trust government anymore as a lump sum. Okay. And we're getting thrown into it. The deal that gets me is the county has underspent. They really have. They go out and they take care of the roads. They do what they're supposed to do. But then, until Bedecker got there, they weren't looking at the bigger picture. And that's when we modeled the Parker County project. In Parker County, this is not, the bond that we have is not anything like Burleson has ever seen. Bond, typically you get the money and you go do the projects. The projects are listed, okay? And on this one, it's done. This is a county bond. But this is only the portion paid of a bigger picture. I put a post out and I put this on the deal. Parker County had a $23 million bond and wound up getting $200 million in projects. That money goes straight to TxDOT. Okay? Here's Hunt County. Oh, and I want to say something else. Parker County, they're going after their second bond. And the favorability is higher than the first time with the citizens. So that tells you something right there. Hunt County, $7.2 million in bonds. Okay? They received $115 million by state and federal funds. Then Kaufman County, they invested $22.4 million. They got $221 million in projects. And the other side of this thing, and this was explained to me by one of the deputy city managers, TxDOT comes out, they didn't spend their money, okay? And they get onto some of these projects, and they see an extension of that project somewhere else. And Michael Morris, the head of TxDOT, says, we just need to go ahead and finish this out. So sometimes there's things gets done that's not even on the list.
Right.
I mean, this is absolutely something that we've never seen before. So when you go to the ballot box and you see bond, you're thinking that all that's going to complete a job.
Yeah.
And that's not the case on this. This is prepping a project so TxDOT doesn't have to go in and do the EPA study. They don't have to move the utilities. They don't have to buy the right-of-ways, and they don't have to do the engineering. All they got to do is just set forms and pour.
They want to build.
That's the reason Parker County was getting jobs ahead of us.
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out. We had all of our bond done, all of our engineering done, but here was Parker County sitting over, and they let the word out accidentally over there. When I found out, I was like, that's not right. So when all of this happened, I started understanding. And then Victor Vandergriff and Oscar, Mayor Trevino, they're the ones that helped me get this over and start understanding what was going on. Because the money's there.
Yeah.
We just got to get it. There's no reason why we shouldn't take the federal money, because somebody's going to get it.
Yeah. They're going to build roads somewhere. It just may not be in Johnson County. It may not even be in the state of Texas.
Could be. Now, here's something I'm going to throw out there. Something that I'm really proud of the council on is the fact that the entities that tell people where TxDOT to go and approve funds and stuff like that is the North Central Texas Council of Government. And Victoria is the vice president right now. And how long you'll be the president? When will you be the president?
I become the president in June.
We have got this set up. We got Commissioner Bailey on the RTC. That's
Right.
also another entity.
And he will be president.
if this thing comes through and we have everything ready to go, we have got probably anywhere from a 5 to 7 year run on getting our roads improved.
Yeah.
I had one person say, well, what are they going to do next year? Are they going to ask for another bond? I said, no, we got plenty to do if we get this one.
I mean, it's not going to be immediate, and they won't go out and sell these bonds all in a lump sum.
No.
So, it'll be probably about half, 20 to 30 million the first round that they sell these bonds. We'll make some progress, and then the county commissioners will put forth the remainder of those bonds. So it's not these decisions weren't made in haste. We vetted this. I served as well as Dan McClendon and Alex Phillips, along
22
with
people on the steering committee.
on the
Wasn't
steering
it 22?
committee. I believe so. And we were a representative, not just elected officials, but economic development, business owners, land developers, realtors. It was a big mix of people that served on this committee, and we created the first county thoroughfare plan. And this is the first time, county-wide, we are talking entities, municipal, county, we're all sitting at the table and developing a master plan because this growth is coming at us. What have you heard the growth that we're anticipating?
Well,
150,000?
when I first got on, it was supposed to be 200,000 people in the next 10 years. Okay, so I've been here a little while, so I'm going to dummying it down. I'd say 150,000 is pretty accurate. The thing that gets me is Parker County's having the same growth we are, and here's poor old Hood County in between us with 19,000 people in the whole county. I don't know if they have a clue of what's coming on both sides of them.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of issues here. I don't know how to get across to everybody about how this works and the whole deal.
Yeah.
And I put a post on Facebook. At the bottom, I've got a very simple email. It's mayor@burlesonTX.com. If you will send me an email and give me a phone number, I will call you back if you've got any questions. But I'm really starting to think that people are starting to see how this is a long-term plan and how everything is set up.
Alex has given us an updated number on our population in this county.
Oh, we've upgraded to 190,000 people.
190,000 people.
Is that in the next 10 years? Oh, 3 years ago.
Yeah, it was 3 years ago. Now it's 190,000.
That's our current population.
Right.
And we have to move these cars, and we're all facing it. I think another question I've seen a lot of as far as this bond package is, well, why is it not county roads? Well, as the mayor mentioned, and a couple weeks ago when the judge and I sat at your table, Mr. Allard, we were talking about the county budget's about $15 million a year for their maintenance and their refurbishment of county roads. County roads are built to be about 5 to 8 year roads, and that's just not a good use of long-term bond funding. This is to either do, like feasibility studies, purchase the right of way, do the engineering to advance projects that aren't really on TxDOT's radar right now.
That's right.
Because we need, right now they're just putting Band-Aids on things and saying, oh, this road, we see it, it's packed, let's work on it. But we're saying, look, we sat at a table and determined we need a different route from east to west across our entire county because we currently don't have that. The railroad crossings, our county is inundated with railroad crossings. That's huge safety issues. You've heard the judge and a number of people speak to public safety. They're in certain parts of our county, if an ambulance isn't on one side, and it may not get to you, or a fire truck or a police car. I mean, these are real concerns. Our county is divided up because the railroad came here way before people did. And so we need to address some of these.
They carry a big stick.
They do.
I mean, all the way back to the 1800s, they started getting all these privileges, and they've never been taken away. So you're at the...
And they won't.
They won't.
Because we like our stuff, right? We expect... the wood when we want to build a house to get here. We expect the steel that, we're going to need. We want the infrastructure. We want to be able to build. And so the railroads are never going to have any of their privileges taken away. We have to figure out how to work around them, build under them or over them, whatever it may be. And in order to be able to have these conversations, there has to be some money.
And okay, so I want to give something that Burleson can equate to, okay? When you go 174 and you take a ride on Hewlin, you're going to go towards that bridge. I like to say the stock tank under the railroad. Okay,
That's true.
That bridge cost right now will be between $30 and $40 million. Okay? The federal government has got money, pockets of money. One of them is for bridges. Here's the story on Hewlin. We have talked to TxDOT about Hewlin. Well, it doesn't have the traffic count.
Yeah.
Well, why does it not have the traffic count? Because we got water under the bridge.
You're going through a creek
Nobody
bed.
wants to go underneath that
It's
bridge.
not exactly safe.
So if we had an overpass on the railroad, then our count comes up. Now we've got that east-west thoroughfare. So it's a huge situation because I don't see any path with the road projects as far as maintenance and us funding that bridge without a major bond, which means property taxes. What do we got?
Yeah, Alex is weighing in on the number of new subdivisions we got coming in.
Oh, my goodness.
56 in the county.
In the county since 21. I mean, and the county roads are just not built for that type of traffic. We have to figure out how to move the cars around, through, across.
Okay, so and you think let's go way down the roads. When TxDOT builds them, those are quality roads, typically concrete, right? Yeah, okay. So when it is time, when they start getting older, Hewlin, the bridge, all of that, that's not city maintenance anymore.
That's right.
When TxDOT builds these, they take on the responsibility. And we're struggling right now of repairing roads in the ETJ, roads that we already have. This is all an issue. The economy's dropped.
Yep.
The city's having to look at our budget. There's so many positives to this for the long term. So I'm really proud of Bedeker and the commissioners.
Absolutely.
I'm really proud of you and Dan being on that. Alex was on that too.
Alex
wasn't he?
served on it.
Yeah, and that's just an amazing accomplishment. Judge Dean out of Parker County and all those guys that brought our attention to this fund. So that's where I'm at on this. I don't want to tell people to vote yes or no.
Right.
We can't
We're
do
not
that.
here to say
I can
how
say
to
it.
vote.
What we have talked about.
I'll say it.
Does anybody
Vote for
listen
it.
to you anymore?
Yeah, who knows? It's a good question. Yeah, that's a good question. Some shows like, hello out there. No, I could say vote for it. Now, I know y'all are kind of restricted in what you can say about these kind of things, but I'm not.
Well, everything we've brought up has been factual. It really is. There's been a lot of research on this. We have used models from other counties. And some of these smaller counties that's getting this federal and state money, they wouldn't be able to do this without that.
Yeah,
So
they
it's a
passed
good
bond
program.
packages. They showed us the pathway to advance our projects. But the biggest thing is these dollars are groundwork, whether it's utility relocation, if it's engineering, if it's a feasibility study, to find alternate routes or new. Is it going to be under? Is it going to be an overpass? These types of discussions can't be had without dollars. And by dedicating some dollars to it, we put ourselves on the discussion list with TxDOT and with the COG to bring those dollars locally. And then we allow TxDOT to construct, and then forever and ever, it's TxDOT's to maintain. And those are dollars that we're not having to budget for every single year.
That's right.
But Taylor has a brochure up on the am and one thing
Sure.
I've noticed is that the average increase in your tax bill from the county would be about $25 a year, right? Am I reading that correctly?
Yeah.
That's right. $2.08 a month.
That's right. That's what I'm thinking. $2. Would you not pay $2 to get down Wilshire quicker?
So let me give you the argument that some people bring up.
Yeah.
Well, it's not my road.
Yeah, that's
One of the guys that's really adamant against this. Well, it's not fixing my road. Well, about 100 yards from your house is Renfro, and they're fixing that. That's going to come into play. So there's a lot of things, and that's not on this one, but it is part of the bond package. And I've already talked to Bedeker about getting that on the federal money. So we might get, instead of using our bond, get the federal money to pay for it.
That kind of irritates me, though, that response. Like, it's not my road, therefore I'm not going to pay the $2 or whatever, because when it does come to fix his road, somebody else will be paying for it.
Well, you got to remember, though, how much bonds, there's been a times when bonds have been really abused. Okay, and you get go to Godly. Godly ISD wanted $800 million, and they didn't even have a project list. Okay, so how would you not be skeptical about what's going on? And then you have the situation of with the property tax and the valuations going through the roof. How can you not be skeptical about what's going on?
Well, I understand the skepticism, but it also is like they want all these services, they want all these conveniences, but they don't want to put out any money for it. And if you're going to have the benefits of a growing county, it's going to cost money, and that's all there is to it. I mean, we have benefited here in Burleson from a lot of the growth. Yeah, it's been some inconveniences and whatnot and whatever, but the point is that you look at what's going on in Old Town, you look what's going on across this community business-wise, what's going on in that warehouse district down the road on 35, and you see all that going on and how much we benefit from that. Jobs and tax revenue and conveniences and places to go and blah, blah, blah. It's going to happen. Sanford Mason here, for the American Legion. He'll be on the show on Veterans Day. I'm looking forward to that. And I'll just read a county judgment with the American Legion and discuss the bond. There is a definite need for roadway improvements in the entire county, but the 917 corridor is a hindrance to traffic. Well, that's true there, sir. An EMS service with the railway crossings and intersections without signal lights. Burleson, Joshua, and Cleburne traffic is going to be horrible in another 5 years if nothing gets done now. I appreciate your support and endorsement, Mr.
And
Mason.
the mayor touched on this a second ago about, the TxDOT may be working on a roadway, but it stops at a certain point. And this gentleman, Mr. Mason, brings up 917. This 917 is listed in a number of different projects on this bond package.
And
I think Taylor,
and it's been funded too.
there's to the east it has been. Now we're trying with this bond package, the west. We want to continue into Johnson County because that's a major east to west artery to get us across the county. And by putting some money into 917, it will help alleviate some of those roadways that are county roads. We have a number of listed, different segments that are in different precincts because it stretches all across our county.
Yeah, Mason, Renfro is going to be a 4-lane all the way to Happy Hills. That runs into 917. All the way from 35 all the way into Mansfield is going to be 4 lanes. And the overpass, that's all on the books to get done. We didn't do shovel ready on these.
Right.
And that's kind of the problem. I was taught that when I first came on, engineering was shovel ready. And really the buying the right-of-ways, moving the utilities, and the EPA study should have been on there too. So, but we're going to live with that. But those are on the radar. And I understand all those businesses out there with semis trying to get on.
Can you imagine?
It's horrible. Cordell went out with his drone and got pictures of all that in the morning and the afternoon for me.
On 917, that crossing?
917.
It's a beating. I use 917 some to go to Dallas. I go to Dallas once a week on a Wednesday afternoon, and that road is crowded now. And it's not just typical traffic. It's a lot of heavy vehicles, construction vehicles, semis. I think are taking a shortcut around Alvarado to get to either to Mansfield or to 67. And if you go the other direction, you better bring a sandwich with you because you're going to be sitting at that light for 2 or 3 times go through because it's a beating. And then you have to navigate that crossing at Egan.
Yep.
And hope you don't get hit.
That's what we want to address. The Egan Railroad crossing is on this bond package. I mean, as the mayor said, the TxDOT is currently paying attention and extending to a 4-lane road into Mansfield, but we need to bring attention to the west side. And the Egan crossing is extremely dangerous. I don't know how long sometimes you get stuck sitting there. And even going toward Keene, I mean, there's so much work still to be done. And that is when TxDOT and the COG already has their attention on a certain roadway, and we can go, hey, well, if we put some funding to do some of the groundwork, then all you have to do is come construct the remainder of it. They go, okay, well, that's an attractive project to me.
Yeah, you understand the efficiency of continuing in a project
There you go.
instead of shutting down and having to come back. And they're there. Now,
Yeah, they're there.
you got to
Just
remember,
keep coming west.
they had funding for the project at times, but the federal government came in and paid them. So now they've got some funds there that they could go, okay, we'll do that.
I'm still stuck on that gentleman who said, they're not repairing my road. first of all, what makes it his road? Second of all, what road is not his road in a sense? He isn't like he never leaves the house. He drives all over this
Yeah, you're
county,
driving
whoever
all
this
over the
person
county.
is. And so whatever road he's on, going to doing his business.
Well, the reason I don't, and I got to be careful here because this is a long time friend.
Yeah, right. No, you don't need to name names. I don't. No, it's nothing like that.
I like the world of this guy, but that's just where we disagree on that. And he's going to benefit out of this.
Sure he is, and that's why
That's exactly
That's
it.
exactly right. So it's not
You're doing
his
business
road,
anywhere in this county.
That's the only one that matters. If you're driving, I don't. That just kind of stuck with me a little bit. We don't need to know
Oh,
it
no,
is.
it's
and
fine. I can understand that because there's a lot of things about government, the property tax, the way the bonds going up, the misuse of certificates of obligation at times. There's a lot
And
of
then you
things.
look at the state, and they have rainy day funds, and local government doesn't get to sit on the amounts of money that the state and the federal government do, or when the federal government just wants to print money because they decide they need more of it. We don't get that luxury. We don't get that frivolousness. That's not something that every dollar that we spend has to be accounted for. If there's cash, which is rare, and I think
right.
we have a cash balance of about $2 million right now, that's because of project savings over lots of time. But it doesn't grow to the sums that the state or the federal government can. By the time it did, we wouldn't, the road that we're
There'd be more
talking about,
projects.
there would be so many more projects. The roads that we're talking about would be in the
Exactly
hundreds of millions. I mean, we are careful with every dollar that we spend. And as you mentioned, the county had the option to to dedicate more funds to transportation and just do it as part of their budget and not bring it before the voters. But they prioritize saying, we think this is important. Do you think this is important
Exactly
as a voter?
right.
You make the decision whether we should take on this debt. Now, as a county, we've been very conservative. I think the only debt that they currently have on the books is due to the jail expansion, and they have to do that by law.
That's right, and they did that with a certificate of obligation. They didn't let the citizens vote on it. I was proud of the way they put it up in front of the citizens.
Right. I mean, they put this before the citizens because we need to hear from the voters. Do you think this is a priority? We as elected officials shouldn't sit in a seat where we're always telling the voters how they should feel about something.
714 or 714.
Yeah, it's that Dobson.
And one of the
Russell
projects,
Art Farm.
714.
Trish Wallace is asking about this, by the way, guys.
714 is a long-term project that needs to be addressed.
Boy, does it.
It is the alternate route to 174. The downside is 714 is going to get worse before it gets better because 174 has funding, and it will start construction next year to expand an additional lane on both sides from Elk to Wicker Hill. And 714 is going to see a lot more traffic, unfortunately.
And they have that new development going on out there.
But it is one of the projects that we discussed as far as a safety concern when you're at 714 and 731. It's almost like a game of chicken to pull out to turn, to head toward Egan or to even head into 174. And so
it was when I want to go to like HEB or somewhere in that part of town, I take.
I do too. My parents live off of it.
And it's kind of dangerous actually because the sides of the roads, you talked about this last time, Mayor, about the shoulders of the roads are getting beat to pieces.
They are.
And here's the other thing too, is the federal government's looking at a bill right now to increase the weight on the trucks.
So beautiful.
Is it from 80 to 90 or 70 to 80?
That's absurd.
And they are just destroying the county roads.
They are.
With the edges breaking off. Now they're going to put 10,000 more pounds on the vehicle.
Long term, 714 is supposed to become a 4-lane divided road, but it's an uphill battle. We have so much right of way that has to be pursued. Engineering. I mean, there's a long way to go on 714.
Some eminent domain use because the properties, the people are right
There's
there
a
on
lot
the road.
of property that's built right up to the road.
Right.
We really
that's
hate
the
doing
last
that.
I
stitch.
know.
You want to try and work with landowners. We by no
that's
means
another
want to be
thing.
in that position to say, this has to come through. We're taking it.
And that's the reason I would rather the city purchase the right of ways instead of the state.
Absolutely.
The state is so heavy handed on this.
They just bulldoze you sometimes.
They will. And it takes forever for them to do it too. And I'd rather someone from Burleson deal with our citizens to get this stuff done instead of, and we treat more fairly if they're receptive to it. Really the problem with eminent domain, no matter what the dollar is, no matter if it's up here, if they go to eminent domain, they get paid
what it's worth.
What they say.
Period. What the assessment says.
That's it. So, and we can't come back and say, well, we're going to give you this. We're done.
Right.
It's out of our hands.
That fence that has to be relocated is on you now, or whatever it may be. And when we're approaching landowners, we're trying to be fair and look at the impact that it's going to have on that landowner.
Well, I just hope something works out, but I know it's not going to be tomorrow, and I never did expect it. And of course, we were all talking about railroad crossings. There's that one at the end of Dobbins, and you take a 45-degree turn into right onto a railroad crossing. And there's a third one I know that gets attention. It's on 917 in downtown Joshua. And these things got to be worked on. But I want to switch gears and talk about our local option here we got going on tomorrow as well. But my feeling is this is going to pass because I think enough people understand it, and they don't. It's distributed costs. $25 a year. I think if you told them in that way, they'll probably have a reassessment if they have any questions about it, because they surely how much money are they spending in gas on these bad roads, or their tires, or having to take a detour because of the jam on Wilshire and that kind of stuff. So anyway, we're going to talk about the option, local option. This is just for us here in Burleson about liquor stores. Now, I have not seen much opposition, if any, but I've not seen a lot of pro advertisements. I remember 2009, y'all probably remember this, when they were changing the liquor by a drink rules and all that, they had significant pro and against. This one is like, I don't even know if a lot of people even know it's happening. And I know we've been shouting about it for about a month and a half here. Of course, like you said, who's listening, right? Okay, fine. Anyway, but I was talking to my buddy Nathan over at Wild Cigar. I saw him last week. I go by about once a month to visit with them and, sponsor care, if you will. They really need it. They really need it because it's not just make their drinks more affordable, but, the savings goes to so many other things, salaries, overhead, whatnot.
Yeah,
and rent, the whole 9 yards, plus the fact that if you wanted something, let's say they'll order something for you. Let's say you go to this particular bar.
Alvarado, and explain the fact that where they have to buy their liquor.
Yeah, it's down in Alvarado, period. And
because you have to buy out of the county. You can't go, here's specs on 35. They've gone back into construction. And
what's the status of that?
They slowed down,
they have
but
a huge
I've noticed
sign out today.
Yes, they've got the sign up and the whole thing.
But that's Tarrant County.
That's right.
So a restaurant that sits in Old Town cannot buy their liquor from that specs.
And Alvarado knows it, so they won't special order any of the whiskeys that
you
they
can
like.
buy what they have on their shelf, and you're going to pay what our shelf price says you're going to pay. And even if you or I do not order a beverage when an alcoholic beverage when we're eating at a restaurant in Old Town, it is still in the cost of their burger. It's still in the cost of how they do business. You're paying for it. So these restaurateurs are really taking it on both sides. They're stuck shopping in the county. They're not given any special deals, benefits, bulk purchasing.
I wonder if that gentleman down in Alvarado understands what's about to happen if it does pass, because he's going to have to actually be competitive.
Well, listen to the number. This was the number that I've, and this plays in as council people benefiting Burleson. Alvarado does $1.4 million a month. Okay? They didn't know the percentage of restaurants that buy, but it's more than half. That would come to Burleson. A lot of that would come to Burleson.
Yeah.
And the other thing that the council did is we put some pretty heavy restraints on a package store.
Right.
10,000 square feet. It has to be sprinkled. It has to have fire system, security glass. We have done a lot to make it there's not going to be any mom and pop package stores here.
I remember when it first came out, y'all got criticism for that, but I thought on the other hand, you don't really want a small mom and pop store. For one thing, it's not going to survive against Total Wine or Specs. But second of all, they're not going to be able to afford the security you're demanding of these stores. Whereas Total Wine
And that's
can.
important.
That is very important. And if they have to cut costs somewhere, that's one of these stores decline. And I think that's what a lot of people have in their mind. They go past some of the seedier parts of Fort Worth and they see these liquor stores with the bars on them and all this other stuff and guys hanging around. That's not going to happen here. We're not going to allow it for one thing, and it's not going to be zoned for that.
Right.
So if you have 10,000 square feet is a lot of square footage, so, but I've been pretty adamant about getting this done because, even you look at like Otto with Gina's, he only sells beer and wine, but you can only buy it from that guy. I don't know this gentleman down in Alvarado, but
This is nothing about him.
It's nothing about him, right?
This
That's
is
what's
a
going
This
on.
is about keeping
that
our
needs to
sales
be
tax
addressed.
I have
in Burleson.
Right, I don't know this guy.
It's to benefit the business owners in Burleson.
Right.
And
Nothing personal, buddy.
This
It's
is-
business.
I mean, you and I have talked before about multiplier, and a month ago, I believe, at the chamber meeting, we had a lady come speak on shopping local and the impact your dollars have when you keep
Yes.
those dollars in your community.
that?
She was a really good speaker. Alex, can you chime in on who that speaker was? But
I remember that. It was
it's
very
impactful. When we
insightful,
keep
yeah.
dollars local, it's employing people that are local. It is keeping our the shopping centers from having vacancies. It's sponsoring the local baseball and soccer team. It's important that we keep dollars local because it's a lot more impactful than when Lori Vincent.
Who's
than
she
when we
with?
shop. I think she's just on her own and she's a
Was she one of
consultant.
ours?
I think she's like a local consultant.
And here's another thing that's brought up. Well, you're going to have drunks and everybody out there. So I talked to Chief Cordell, and he said it's a package store. They might get it and go somewhere. They might even open one up on the way. We don't know about that.
Yeah.
But they're going to do that in Alvarado.
Or anywhere else.
Yes. So you're not going to have drunks leaning up against the trees and stuff
Right.
because you have this type of store. And that's private property. They're not going to let that happen.
Right.
Oh, they don't want that kind of look. I want to see if Victoria remembers her economics days. In my class 20 years ago, the multiplier
The
effect.
multiplier effect is
Yeah.
exactly where I was
Right.
heading with
That's
that.
what you're talking about, yeah.
Absolutely. We
Well-
want our dollars to stay local. We want those sales tax reinvested in our community because guess what? Sales tax helps our general fund.
Yes.
There is a percentage of it that goes back to the general fund where we're filling those potholes that people are angry about, where we are extending roadways where we know that there's additional traffic.
Well, Alex has put up there that 68 cents of every dollar stays local. And
She's a consultant.
she's a consultant
out
out of Austin. Okay.
Former
Oh, we got a
ABC
great
person.
staff.
Yeah, I know.
Aren't they
Alex,
phenomenal?
he's on top of things. Well,
Thanks, Alex.
so,
I mean, 68 cents of every dollar. That's big. And if you go shop at that Specs, that money goes to Fort Worth, not Burleson.
I wonder if Specs is kind of regretting putting it there now because
My understanding is they shut down for a while.
I don't know what's
I don't
going
know.
on, but I know it's been slow coming, and there's a lot of people banging on the windows. But as far as I can almost promise Total Wine has got to be looking at this. I know Alex, he's not going to tell us this, but my assumption is, and this is strictly my assumption, Alex, somebody's contacted our city about opening up a store here.
Oh, they have for years. I mean, HEB wouldn't be here if we hadn't passed the beer and wine sales years and years and years ago. And this will open up additional opportunities. There have been other big boxes that have approached our economic development team and said, we're interested, but you need to pass this. And that's exactly how we got a store like HEB.
Or
but
Kroger's
also,
or-
I think there's state laws that prohibits HEB and Kroger's and stuff like from selling the liquors like these places sell.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
but I'm just giving
think
that
that, yeah.
example of
That
how
makes
we
sense.
wouldn't have.
We was in Hawaii, went to a Walmart, and they've got aisles up and down of liquor stores.
Right, right.
That may happen here. It's the last two legislative sessions that's been brought as a bill. Now, it didn't get out of committee, but
I don't know that it will in Texas.
well, I don't know. It seems like a lot of these things that get passed eventually don't get passed on the first swing at the pitch, but they keep coming back every
They
2
keep coming
years.
back.
And like casino
See-
stuff gets a little bit more and a little bit more.
And I would have
every
more
year.
concern about someone buying at a Walmart
Same.
getting that, and then going out in the parking lot.
Yeah.
I would have concerns about that.
I would prefer Total Wine than having Walmart or HEB sell hard liquor. I'd hate to think they'd be compelled to sell it just to keep competitive. But that's a state issue.
Yeah.
So we'll see tomorrow.
We'll let Austin
When
handle
do you
that.
expect to know the results of this election? Please don't tell me, we're waiting for the mail-in ballots and all that.
I wonder what the rule is. I mean, every state has their own time frame of opening up the mail-ins.
Texas is
I don't
count-
know what. It's what?
Texas Council.
Right.
So we're going to know who won, like our Senate race and who won this state, probably about 11 o'clock tomorrow night. Because this is kind of off the topic, but the Cruz Allred race is going to be really tight, and we're not going to really know until the West Texas votes come in. But as far as like y'all, I bet y'all know about 9 o'clock. And as far as like mail-in ballots, in Texas we don't have a lot of mail-ins. You have to be of a certain age or a certain status, like an invalid or some other, but it's very narrow. It's not like Pennsylvania where basically, here, have a ballot, here, have 4. And
Well, this is my last show on it. I am sick of this election.
all the way around.
Thank you very much.
You talk about not
Yes.
just this bond, but the whole 9 yards. Huh?
I'm tired of the whole thing. I'm tired of the
It has dragged on
screaming
and on.
hollering and the text.
I know. I text all those bulk texts that we get. It's like, stop, end, please don't send me another. I have voted.
I
Take
have
me
not
off your
gotten
list.
one. And I'm
You're a lucky duck.
Oh, Robin gets them all the time, but I don't get a
Well,
single
you lecture
one.
when you get one. You start lecturing to
Yeah,
them.
that's right. It must be the
Nobody
case.
wants to-
Well, and then once I hear it is.
That's what my husband Philip does. He starts responding. I'm like, that's probably like a 20-year-old kid, because in college, that's how I made additional money. I would go phone bank for local,
Really?
for campaigns
Oh, I bet that was
locally.
fun.
I mean, it was. You could go late out, like after hours, after school, you go sit and phone bank with people, but. I'm like, that's a 20-year-old kid that you're yelling at. Like, don't lecture them.
Yeah, as far as the presidential race, I'll just make my own comments. I don't want to drag y'all into it, but I have concerns either way. And what I'm really concerned is the losing side is not going to take it well. And we're going to see some responses. Now, I don't see them here in Burleson, but you'll see them across the country of whoever is losing this race is not going to say, well fought and good luck. They're going to protest.
Places that just defunded police, Detroit, and I mean Chicago.
Austin.
It could get nasty.
It can. And also another concern I have is this going to be a fair election? The answer I will tell people is mostly, but you're going to see the losing side either on Fox or MSNBC, whoever, bring up anecdotes about how some precinct in Philadelphia screwed up or how some precinct in Georgia screwed up. And we haven't had an election in our history that hasn't had a couple of screw-ups. So I'm just saying, don't take the bait. Every time they talk about malfeasance at the ballot box, you're going to see it in the news or read about it in your favorite blog about some guy voted twice in Detroit.
Research.
Yeah.
I tell you, we live in an age of everything's right there available to
Look
us.
at Alex. He's taking
And
off
we
when we get to the
sat there.
politics.
I don't blame him.
He said, bye.
Bye.
Alex.
Yeah, right.
Back to shopping local.
Right. But no,
To have such information in front of you, nobody goes and researches.
No, they just take what they
accept
see.
what they
I know, isn't that
Go
fascinating?
research.
well, they get it off X or other forms. I had somebody send me something yesterday, an article about somebody voted twice or this non-citizen voted and all this other stuff. And you're going to hear that, but is it going to be sufficient enough to really put the election in doubt? I would say be very cautious about accepting that kind of conclusion.
Think for yourself.
Yeah. Don't just automatically.
What about the ballot box that caught on fire there?
Yeah. Well, see, that's why I'm not a big fan of drop-in mail. In Texas, you can only do it at the
poll?
You have to hand it.
No, at the county seat.
Right. You have to hand it. You have to go to the county seat, and you have to show your driver's license. You have to show an ID and say, "This is my mail-in ballot. Here I am."
Yeah.
So you're handing it to someone. I kind of agree with that. We shouldn't have just boxes where people get to drop
Well,
things.
I
It's just
agree.
dangerous.
Well, and they'll never know how many votes are lost now. Will it change
so
the election?
sad.
They said they estimate about 500 votes were lost. And how,
It's an estimate. They'll never know.
And they'll never know who those 500 people were.
No, that's awful.
And so that's why I never did care for drop boxes. And now, as far as, but I don't, my big concern is you're going to see somebody on the news, one of these cable news guys, or, on the blogs or whatever, the Alex Jones types, and saying there was massive fraud in Detroit and therefore it cost Trump the election. Or you're going to have some guy on the left say there's massive fraud in Georgia that cost Harris the election, blah, blah, blah. I'm not taking the bait. I'm not. You're going to have to show me real evidence from legitimate sources, not some guy on Twitter.
You're going to have to do that to have any peace of mind.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's done. Today, I am done with it.
Yeah.
I am. Why did you roll your eyes?
Because I was thinking, well, we have one more day. You're saying today you're done, but we have one more day. Let's just wake up Wednesday. Can we do it?
Well, yesterday in my Sunday school class, we prayed about the election, right?
That's what we need to do.
And they said, it's going to be God's will. I'm like, oh, man, we're hosed. Every time they say God's will, I feel like, oh, man, we're done.
What gets me is where do they come up with their numbers?
Yeah.
Someone is saying there's 40 million Christians that's not going to vote.
I don't understand that.
Where do you get that? I don't understand how polls work. And then I was listening, and I go back between. I go back
You get it
between
from ChatGPT.
Fox and CNN. Okay, and I switch back and forth, and it's the same conversation. But today they started talking about matrix in a poll, and how through the years when they went with one matrix, it favored one side, and they went to a different matrix and it favored to the other side.
Oh,
how do you know what's accurate?
I read a lot. I read too much.
How do you know that?
It's kind of like when the COG does a population study, and they took 3 different studies, and you kind of like put them against each other, and you figure the truth is somewhere in the middle of 3. So that's what I think when these polls too. I'm like, well, like you said, this matrix said this matrix said that. Like,
are they just picking the one they want to show?
Yes, they are.
Well, you got that,
this one will give me some
Both sides.
attention.
Both sides.
Totally.
Yeah.
They say this one will ruffle feathers. It'll turn people out, or whatever it may be. It's gonna push buttons.
Clickbait.
So it's clickbait. Let's put this out there.
I read a lot of this stuff, too much for my own good. I read a lot of stuff, and
I just don't have time anymore.
Well, I shouldn't do it, but I have some stuff waiting for me when I get home to read about from this morning's. And what I tell my vast listening audience, which I do have, thank you, I go from left to right, literally. I go from the New York Times to the National Review to try to keep a balance. And also, when I look at polls, there's some polls I don't even, it's a waste of time, but there's about a handful of polls that I know are fairly accurate. And I'll pay attention to those. But the others are just waste of time. Anyway.
How do you know those polls are right?
Because of the past history.
Okay.
Their past history of being pretty accurate. And the fact is, and some of these have developed reputations over a long, long time for being within the polling margin errors and all this other stuff. And a lot of people don't realize it or like it, but New York Times, NBC, all those, they do pretty accurate polls. Fox has a good poll. And there's 2 or 3 colleges that do accurate polls, but the rest, that's why, I just say it's entertaining, but I don't buy into it.
Entertaining.
Anyway, I'll be on Thursday at 10 to talk about all this. I doubt we'll know who won, because Pennsylvania will get around to voting it when they get around to it. And same with Arizona, they're even worse. And those are the 2 biggest swing states. And we may not know Arizona's winner for 10 to 13 days, they estimate. And that's what we need, is 2 weeks of this.
Please.
But
I
appreciate
please go vote Johnson County.
Yeah, vote yes on the bond. I can say yes. Vote for the bond. And
Just turn over that ballot. Make sure you complete it.
And if you're able to vote for the liquor store, I know you don't have to be, a participant, but it is going to benefit other people in the community, local people. So thank you, Taylor.
Thank you, Taylor.
Always.
All the sound effects and, wise guy comments. Anyway, so I'll see y'all 10 o'clock. It's a little earlier than normal, but I got things I got to do Thursday afternoon. So anyway, appreciate y'all coming in. Please share this with your friends so they'll have an accurate source of information about what that bond is about, because a lot of people may not be totally clued in. So please share it, and we'll see y'all in a couple of days. Good luck. Hang in there after tomorrow. You bet.